Welcome to Herbally Yours, an adventure into the world of natural medicine. Here is your host, Dr. Ellen Kamai, the natural nurse who will help you take the leap to ultimate wellness.
And greetings. Thank you so much for joining me, Ellen Kamai, the natural nurse, for another edition of Herbally Yours, right here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Herbally Yours brings you the latest information about the many facets in the world of natural living. Today, I am so happy to have on board as our guest Dr. William Davis. He is a medical doctor, preventative cardiologist, and really developed a very unique wheat, grain-free approach to diet, as is advocated in his top New York Times bestseller, Wheat Belly, Lose the Weight, Lose the Wheat, and Find Your Path Back to Health, along with his series of associated cookbooks and blog. He is actively engaged in cultivating discussions about heart health, which have yielded solutions to many other diseases as well. He's joining us today from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we're going to talk about his book, Wheat Belly, as well as a new book he came out with, Undoctored, Why Healthcare Has Failed You. So we'll get as far as we can. Those are two big topics, but welcome to Herbally Yours, Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Ellen. Actually, I'm in Manhattan right now.
Oh, you're close by. I could have just had you live in the studio if I knew that. But I'm so happy you were able to join us. Now, you know, I really think that your book made major inroads because I've been doing holistic medicine since really a very long time, 1964 as a matter of fact. And
wow.
I worked for 23 years as a nurse at the Corsello Center for Complementary Medicine with Dr. Serafina Corsello. And she advocated, even then, we did a lot of allergy testing, and one of the first interventions was a wheat-free diet. But from talking to so many patients since your book came out, for some reason, you were able to really catapult that concept into a really big mainstream audience, which I very much applaud.
Well, you know, I hope I filled in a lot of the blank spaces. For instance, people often think it's a gluten-free message, and that's not what this is. So I liken the gluten-free message, Ellen, to having low-tar cigarettes. In other words, if you have low-tar cigarettes, it doesn't erase all the problems with smoking. There's plenty of other problems. Likewise, if you just avoid gluten, you still get plenty of problems in foods. And so this is actually a grain-free lifestyle. There's a whole rationale behind this. I'm not sure we have time to go into that. But what this puts in people's hands is an astoundingly powerful means to lose weight, one, but also to reverse literally hundreds of health conditions, because grains, which are really the seeds of grasses, people don't think of grains that way, but that's what they are. They're seeds of grasses that humans can simply not digest properly. When you remove them, all kinds of really spectacular effects unfold.
Well, let's go back in time a little bit, Dr. Davis, and why don't you share with us what made you decide to go into medicine and then to specialize in cardiology?
I went into medicine because I liked the high-tech excitement of it, the science, probably not good reasons. And I went into a high-tech specialty, which was interventional cardiology, doing the stents and angioplasty and atherectomies and those kinds of things, until I became very disillusioned with what that meant. Particularly after my mom died of a sudden cardiac death a few months after her successful 2-vessel coronary angioplasty. She died of a disease that I thought I knew something about. I didn't have anything to do with her care, of course. She was in New Jersey. I was in Milwaukee. But it drove home to me just what a miserable solution, or attempt at a solution, doing procedures on people's hearts was. And so I started to devote my time and energies to heart disease prevention. And we started by scanning people's hearts, doing these coronary calcium scores, CT heart scans. It became clear, this is about 20 years ago, it was a long time ago. it became clear that conventional answers, like taking statin drugs and cutting fat in your diet, did almost nothing. It sometimes made it worse. And by the way, we helped publish some of that data. These data are very clear. We have $2 billion of marketing data that are published by the statin drug manufacturers that tell my colleagues that everybody must be taking a statin, but that's absolutely ridiculous. Statin drugs barely do anything. Yet you have astounding control if you understand how heart disease is caused. So I tried to develop a program, I did, that helped stop and then reverse coronary atherosclerosis, but it involves such things as vitamin D and fish oil and correction of your thyroid dysfunction and elimination of the number one most common cause for heart disease, which is not high cholesterol. I call high cholesterol the kindergarten version. The number one most common cause after inflammation of coronary disease, heart disease, is an excess of small LDL particles, which is misinterpreted as high LDL cholesterol. But the real measure is an excess of small LDL particles. Only two foods, Ellen, cause an excess of small LDL particles. And this science is quite well sorted out, by the way, grains and sugars, period. So I asked all my patients, thousands of them, to remove grains and sugars, and they did. And their small LDL particles plummeted. But it was all the other stuff that happened to people when we eliminated all grains and sugars that caught my attention. People's irritable bowel syndrome went away. Their ulcerative colitis started to reverse. Their rheumatoid arthritis, joint pain started to reverse. Their eczema, psoriasis, and seborrhea started to go away, often within the first few days. People's appearances changed. Their facial swelling reversed within the first 10 days or so. Blood pressures dropped. Type 2 diabetics become non-diabetics. Pre-diabetics become non-pre-diabetic. On and on and on. And I didn't understand at first what was happening. This thing I did just for coronary purposes turned out to be an astoundingly powerful tool for regaining control over health and weight.
Wow, isn't that great? That's what I have really enjoyed about being involved in this kind of medicine, where it's so satisfying as a practitioner to see your patients actually get well from illnesses that conventional medicine tells you are irreversible, which is not true.
Absolutely. As time passed, Ellen, it became clear, though, there were some additional steps you had to take in order to undo more complex situations, like, say, an autoimmune condition or a neurological condition that involves such efforts as like vitamin D, like we talked about, restoration of bowel flora, which is a huge issue. But when you do these things, you get astounding results. Now, my everyday experience, Ellen, is seeing people healthier, younger, looking better, feeling better than they have in 10, 20 years, and achieving results that are superior to anything their doctor could have achieved. Because the doctor uses tools like drugs, right? Prescription drugs and procedures. And that is not the path to health. They give you a bad diet.
No, that's a stopgap measure. And I want you to know that you are listening to Herbally Yours on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Ellen Kamai, the natural nurse, and my guest today is Dr. William Davis, medical doctor, and the best place to find him is at wheatbellyblog.com. And thank you so much for joining us today. Now, you did mention small LDL particles, and one of the things we always do is also measure ApoA to ApoB ratios, which really can point out how small those LDL particles are. Is that what you recommend your clients get?
That's an indirect way of doing it. You can get some wisdom out of that. You can also look at triglyceride levels as indirect means of guesstimating whether you have small LDL. But you can actually measure small LDL directly, such as an NMR test, lipoprotein analysis from LipoScience and other companies. SpectraCell, there's many companies that do this. And you can quantify the number of small LDL particles. So a very common situation, somebody with coronary disease would be small LDL particles of 2,400 nanomoles per liter. All that means is as a part of a count per volume when they eat grains and sugars. You take grains and sugars out of the diet, and small LDL particles drop from 2,400 to 0 or something very low. In other words, it's not a partial improvement. It's not 10% better. It's not 30% better. It's not 50% better. It's typically 90 to 100% better just with the shift in diet. But everyone has been told that you need to take statin drugs to be protected from heart disease, which is absolute nonsense. So we do these kinds of things, and I've seen heart disease regress now many times, but as well as heart disease, many, many other health conditions. But you do have to take some additional steps. We're told, of course, that you must eat grains for fiber and B vitamins, which is not true. Actually, grains cause several nutritional deficiencies, and that's because grains have something called phytates that bind any mineral in your bowels, and you pass them out in the toilet. And that's why people who consume grains are very typically iron deficient. Some of the worst iron deficiencies I've ever seen is caused by grains. Even ladies, typically in females more than males, oddly, ladies who've had bone marrow biopsies and blood transfusions, iron injections, and iron tablets, and they remain anemic. You take grains out of their diet, and the anemia reverses within 2 weeks. I've seen that happen many times. Magnesium and calcium deficiency, zinc deficiency, very common when people eat grains. One of the reasons for that, by the way, is because agribusiness increased the phytate content of grains because it's a great pesticide. It fights off molds and fungi and rusts for the farmer, but it also is very toxic when people consume it. So in other words, the efforts of agribusiness intensified the toxicity of grains. This all happened in the 1970s, 1980s, and that's when grains have always been toxic, but their toxicity was amplified by the efforts of agribusiness in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And that's where it all came to a head. So you take grains out of the diet, and minerals are restored. Iron levels go up, magnesium levels go up, calcium levels go up, so much so that nobody should be supplementing calcium, by the way. Calcium is quite toxic when you take it as a supplement. If you eliminate grains, your calcium absorption improves dramatically, especially when you combine it with vitamin D. And so there are some additional steps that people can take, simple steps that go beyond grain elimination. But when you get these simple steps right, that's when people, they'll see these stories, for instance, on the We Belly Facebook page. They'll see these astounding changes that occur even within 5, 7, or 10 days, where people's faces are changing. Their weight, of course, is dropping. They're coming off their drugs. It's a very rapid collection of changes.
It's so fascinating, and to watch that happen for yourself and your clients. And we're going to take a little break right here, Dr. William Davis, and want listeners to know that you are listening to Herbally Yours on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. Listen live or online at ncc.edu/WHPC or at iHeartRadio. For more information on today's guest or topic, email whpc@ncc.edu. Stay tuned. Herbally Yours will be right back.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I liked things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I'd do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
And welcome back. Thanks for joining us right here on Herbally Yours on the voice of Nassau Community College. Our guest today is Dr. William Davis, MD, New York Times best-selling author and a cardiologist who advocates unique, insightful, and cutting-edge strategies to help individuals discover the health hidden within them. His blog is wheatbellyblog.com. And it has been visited by 24 million subscribers, but of course that number goes up every minute. Dr. Davis has also shared his passion for grain-free living on national television shows such as Dr. Oz and CBS This Morning. His Wheat Belly Total Health program has become a public television special